Fire in the hole! Hello folks, it's Mike Harvey again, president and founder of CIMARRON Firearms Company. Now we are the largest distributor of replica firearms in the world, and we've made that journey because we are dead set on providing quality and authenticity, in our firearms. But going back to the time when that probably spurred this interest. So I was 7 years old, and I used to go spend time with my grandparents in Broadus, Texas. That's in the deep piney woods near St. Augustine, and I would stay in a little house behind my grandparents' house, just a little frame plank walled house that would keep you from freezing to death if you covered up enough. And well, anyway, in that house were rafters that were not covered up, and up in those rafters there were 4 or 5 old long muzzle-loading rifles that didn't work anymore because you couldn't get powder for them. They might have worked if you had powder and the stuff to make them work, but anyway, eventually they were all lost or stolen. And so 25 years later, here I am working downtown Houston at a bank, and I still like those old muzzleloaders. I found a book. The book was written by a guy named Blevins, I do believe, and the book was titled "Give Your Heart to the Hawks," and it was a story of the mountain men from New Mexico, Colorado to Wyoming, Idaho, and Montana. Mostly about one mountain man, Jed Smith. Well, Jed Smith carried a Hawken rifle, and Hawkens were made in St. Louis, Missouri by Sam and Jake Hawken. And all of the furnishings on a Hawken rifle were solid steel. They were the most durable rifle on the frontier, and every mountain man wanted a Hawken, but very few of them got a Hawken. And I didn't have an original Hawken. I still do not have an original Hawken because I don't think I've seen more than one, that is on the free market, that might be for sale in my lifetime. But anyway, I got this job downtown Houston, and my hobby was going to be reproducing a Hawken rifle, which I did, and this is it right here. I made this 47 years ago and made it in my garage. And at that time there were no kits that you could buy to make a Hawken rifle. This is about 1970. But I found that the Hawken Museum in St. Louis had blueprints of the original Hawken rifles. And those blueprints had every part that's in the rifle. So you could make it if you had some place to start on the parts. There were enough people interested in the Hawken back then to have made rough castings of all of the parts in a Hawken. So that is where we started with, we got a lock plate and the parts for a lock, and you finished them out, smoothed them out, and you made your lock. You put your lock together, you got your lock working. And then all of the other parts, the steel parts, these simple steel parts here, the wedges, you could find the steel wedges in the little plates here. If you couldn't find them, you had to make them. They're just out of sheet steel, you know, about a 1/16 of an inch thick. And the thimbles that hold the ramrod, you could buy those. And you could buy just about every part on it. I got white out on my front side so I could see it at night. Not at night, but you know, when the sun is setting. Anyway, all the other parts, you could buy them as castings, and you had to smooth them out, take the casting marks off of them, and finish your parts out. And the wood was just rough sawn blanks, and anyway, you had to pretty much make the darn thing one piece at a time. So I worked on this gun every day for 6 months before I finished it and was able to shoot it. It started out as a 50 caliber, and I wore the barrel out shooting it and letting it rust too much. And so I sent it off. The barrel is made by Douglas, and the barrel is 1 1/8 inch thick, and it's no taper. It's 1 1/8 inch here, and it's 1 1/8 inch here. And so, anyway, it was made by Douglas, and I sent it off to H&H Barrel Company. I don't think they're still around, but they bored it out to a like a 60 caliber, and then rifled it, so it's a 62. And I still use the gun hunting in Colorado every year for elk, and I shot several elk with it. It's just very, very authentic, and the wood on it is just extremely beautiful. It's curly maple, we call it, and it's got these cracks that are in it. You know, I left them in there. They were in it when I got the wood and made the stock, and they're still well-preserved cracks, but they add to the character of the gun. This one was finished just like they finished them in the 17 and 1800s. The stock stain was not like a stain, this dark brown that you put on the wood and it soaks into the wood and stains it. The stain for this stock it's an acid. I don't remember what kind of acid it is, but I was really shocked when I was researching. I remember the name of the acid of the stock stain. It was called Aqua Fortis, and Aqua Fortis was still available, and it was available from one of the companies that I got some of the parts from. I don't know if they've been in continuous business until today, but the company is Track of the Wolf, and they used to sell any single part that you needed to build a gun. They had all of them, and I'm sure some of the parts on this gun came from Track of the Wolf. The stock came from another company called the Log Cabin Store. And the stock is a curly maple, which they call it fiddleback or type or strike, but it's curly maple. Anyway, and it is one of the most beautiful pieces of curly maple I've ever seen. And I almost sent the stock back because it was crooked, and then Dixie Gun Work had a little article in their catalog about how to straighten it, so I did. I had to straighten it out and get it straight, but managed to do that. Now, you put this acid stain on the gun, the entire gun. The stock is out of it, you know. The stock is totally disassembled, no parts in it. Then you hold this wood above a fire or a flame or something hot, and the heat causes the acid to darken. And you can stop the darkening process wherever you want to. Most of these guns you see in curly maple are real dark, where you don't see much of the figure in the wood because it's too dark. And I saw one that was this tobacco color, and I love that tobacco color, and that's what I did. I quit, and this color that you can see on this stalk is light, and you can see every grain in the wood is just, it's magnificent. I don't know how nature makes this wood so beautiful. But anyway, then came the nose cap, and I had a friend that had made a rifle a couple of years earlier, and it had a bone nose cap on it. So I thought, boy, I really like that white nose cap. The white bone is not white, it's an ivory color. So this nose cap came from Gretel. Gretel was my wife's Weimaraner dog, and it had this big old round roast bone that it was just gnawing it to pieces. And I said, Gretel, let me borrow that bone. And I took Gretel's bone and I made this nose cap out of Gretel's bone. And Mary Lou never let me forget it, that I took that bone from her dog to make a nose cap with it. But anyway, such is life, you know. Life has its hardship for all of us. We all have to share in them. But that's the story of my first Hawken, and I made another one. I made a full stock Hawken that I still have, but it's retired. I don't use it anymore because this one goes with me on every hunting trip I go on, and it's been a nice one. And in 62 caliber with a round ball, it'll do the job if you're a good shot. Anyway, that's about all that I can tell you about building this gun, but I think I'm going to take it outside and fire it so you can see what it looks like to fire a real 62 caliber Hawken. So see you after a while. Bye. Oh well, it went off. I want to thank you from CIMARRON for watching and for your interest in CIMARRON products. Thank you very much. We're going to sign out now, but this is the gun that started the whole mess. It was a hobby, but it's not anymore. It's still fun. Thank you.